Chapter 1. A lot of people suffer from a weight problem, and many solutions are not helping. It is no news that almost everyone wants to have the perfect body. It seems like at every turn, someone is willing to offer advice on how to achieve this. Gym membership has increased, and many foods now have calorie numbers attached to them. Everybody wants to eat the foods that make them happy, but don't add an ounce of fat to their bodies. It is essential that you do a regular review of your diet to recognize the unhealthy foods. In January 2013, research was carried out using 272,216 subjects. It was discovered that there was a 31% increase in the death toll of people who indulged in the low-carb diet. What if a lot of these weight loss plans that abound are only slowly killing us? What if a low-carb diet is the reason why a lot of people are unhealthy and obese? Keep reading to find out all you need to know before you embark on a weight loss journey. Chapter 2. More people are getting unhealthier because they're listening to the wrong advice. It has been a constant tug-of-war between Americans and weight loss. And since 1980, the obesity rate has doubled. 1/3 of U.S. adults are obese, even in the midst of all the plans and solutions guaranteed to cure obesity. An even bigger problem is that a weight problem is not an independent problem. It is linked with heart failure, type 2 diabetes, and even cancer. Obesity triggers a chain of interrelated health problems. Many years ago, the advice was to eat less and exercise more. But as the obesity rate grew, it was evident that this wasn't working. William Banting was the first to use the low-carb diet in the 1860s for weight loss. But this idea only became public when Dr. Robert Atkins, in 1988, released a book titled New Diet Revolution, which became the rulebook for the low-carb movement. The secret of health has been in front of us all along, in the guise of a simple and perhaps boring word: nutrition. T. Colin Campbell, Ph.D. This movement believes that limiting the intake of carbohydrates and getting calories from protein and fat is the solution to obesity. Bread, rice, pasta, and other grains that contain carbohydrates are the enemy. People began to eat more proteins, such as bacon, steak, and butter, and would end up losing weight for just a short period. This made this method unsustainable. Unknown to many advocates of the low-carb diet, foods high in protein and fat turned out to be bad for the health and had even worse health consequences than the carbs in the SAD, Standard American Diet. Contrary to popular belief, eating less food is no guarantee that a person won't end up obese. Chapter 3. Many industries will be put out of business if people begin to eat right. The low-carb movement has garnered a lot of followers over the years, but its flaws are still pretty evident. Dieters are often swayed by the thrill of trying something different for faster results, and many food manufacturers capitalize on this by flooding the market with these foods designed to make them lose weight. The media is usually no help as it continually offers information on new gadgets and products sworn to help a person lose weight. Many sectors encourage us to purchase unhealthy foods for their selfish reasons. Data from 1990 shows that no state in America had an obesity rate higher than 20%. 20 years later, in 2020, obesity was more massive in more than 12 states and had risen above the 30% mark. The fact that they could eat as much of their favorite foods as they liked without feeling guilty about it encouraged people to jump on the low-carb bandwagon. Industries that produce these foods are not complaining about the profitability of their businesses, so it's a vicious cycle of unhealthy food production and consumption. Many authors and doctors have also created meal plans, books, and products with little or no experience at all in scientific research. Not everyone who has an opinion is knowledgeable. Many people pass the wrong information. Chapter 4. Low-carb diets are deficient of essential food groups and offer short-lived benefits. A low-carb diet is good for short-term weight loss, but it has a lot of disadvantages. It focuses on the excess weight a person has without concern for the underlying cause of such weight gain. This one-sided focus is an unproductive way of losing weight because the weight that is lost will keep coming back. Obesity is usually a symptom of an even worse problem and should be treated as a means to an end, not an end in itself. Research carried out shows that low-carb dieters showed more constipation, headaches, halitosis, muscle cramps, diarrhea, and general weakness, and were consistent even when compared to those who followed the Standard American Diet. Journalist Gary Taubes, a staunch supporter of the low-carb movement, explains how excess calories, fat, and carbs cause weight gain, and how the metabolism of calories is of more importance than the number of calories a person consumes. The body depends on carbohydrates for proper functioning. Carbohydrates are nutrients found in plants. Simple carbs are monosaccharides and disaccharides. Glucose is the most common monosaccharide. Starch, which is a polysaccharide, is also present in foods like potatoes and cereals. Other carbs are more complex and do not easily break down. The low-carb movement judges all foods that contain sugar as bad because refined sugar is bad. A diet that is low in carbs is in fact devoid of vitamins, minerals, and other antioxidants that are vital to the body. Did you know? Research showed that animals that consumed the lowest protein were less prone to cancer than animals that consumed more protein. Chapter 5. A proper diet contains foods that are as close to their natural state as possible. Many food items are labeled low-fat, but really quite the opposite is the case. America has never managed to achieve a low-fat diet. Over the last few decades, our total fat intake has gone up, and dietary fat increased. Science has shown that the best way to eat is WFPB, whole food, plant-based diet. From way back, everyone was advised to eat more fruits and vegetables. But if people do this, the food, medical, and pharmaceutical industries stand to lose a lot. A plant-based diet combined with physical activities helps to boost the body's metabolism. WFPB consists of whole foods, foods as close to their natural state as possible. No refined products, additives, preservatives, refined fats, animal products, or chemicals. By eating more plant-based foods, you don't have to worry about calories because they provide a variety of antioxidants that boost the immune system. The claim by the low-carb movement that a diet high in protein reduces blood glucose and cholesterol levels is false. Only a WFPB diet can induce weight loss and reduce the risk of obesity, diabetes, and heart problems. Research done by Gardner et al. Proves that the low-carb diet usually contains 30% fat or even more, while the WFPB diet is within the range of 8 to 12% fat content. A protein-based diet is filled with fats that clog the arteries. For over 4 decades, dieters have been convinced that the low-carb diet is the solution to their weight problems. But this is not the case. Carbs are an essential part of the diet, and taking them out can and will do more harm than good. Conclusion. Plant and animal-based foods differ in their nutrient contents, and while some people are obsessed with measuring every calorie they consume, it is more important that you ensure that most of what you're eating is plant-based. Even when the food you contain has more calories than an animal-based meal, you need to utilize it properly by exercising. The low-carb movement seems to be sprouting everywhere, but the change that everyone seeks begins with a good understanding of foods and what they contain. Experimental evidence all around has proven that you need more carbohydrates in your diet. Instead of avoiding the carbohydrates, combine them in ways that are more nutritious and interesting to you and the people around you. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Albert Einstein. Good health is possible and not exclusive to a select number of people. But if you want it, you need to eliminate fats and proteins from your diet, get enough exercise, and stay away from the people who can't seem to denounce the low-carb movement. Try this. Make an inventory of the food you consumed this week. Look for all the animal-based meals and see how you can replace a lot of them with plant-based ones.